Hi guys, welcome back to Batok with Ola. My name is Mujela Olua, and today we want to quickly look at something very important. We want to look at laying foundation. Laying foundation. This is something that happens in trial, whether it's criminal trial or a civil trial. So I thought this was a very important thing, and we should look at it because on the channel we've looked at so many aspects of evidence giving. We've looked at how to examine a witness, cross-examine a witness, re-examine a witness. We've looked at how to do that for uh, a defendant's witness, prosecution witness. All those videos are on the channel. We've also looked at ESA evidence, for instance. We've looked at expert evidence, opinion evidence. We've also looked at how to tender documentary evidence, different types of evidence. And we've continually, dedicated adequate time on the channel to talking about trial, different aspects of trial. So today I thought let's talk about laying foundation. I'm sure it's something you probably have heard before, especially if you're a law student or if you're a lawyer. But if you're a layman too, you're welcome and this will help you. To start with, I would say that there are three types of evidence, very important. There's real evidence, there's documentary evidence, and then there's a testimonial evidence, or yes, testimonial evidence. That's witness evidence. That's what I mean by testimonial evidence. So what is real evidence? Real evidence is evidence that can be undone, that can be seen, hard evidence, as some people like to call it. We're talking about things like maybe the weapon of an armed found or recovered in an armed robbery. For instance, we're talking about maybe clothes that were discovered at the scene of crime. Maybe you're pursuing a burglar, he runs away, leaves his belt or leaves his shoes. That's real evidence. It could even be a building where a crime has been committed, or where maybe monies were discovered, proceeds of crime, or monies connected to fraud. It could even be money, cash. That's real evidence. It can be handled, it can be touched. It is not abstract. Some are movable, some can be immovable sometimes, so mostly movable. So that's real evidence. And then we have documentary evidence. In most cases, documentary evidence refers to documents, as the name implies. It could be maybe a ticket, a receipt, It could be maybe a letter written to somebody, a book, anything that is in form of a document, which is or which has become part of the evidence in a matter, in an ongoing matter. That's another type. Then we have testamentary evidence. Testamentary evidence in most cases refers to uh, or testimonial evidence rather refers to the witness, evidence of a witness, maybe an eyewitness, someone who heard, who saw, something happen and has come to court to give evidence. It could also be an expert witness. I believe we talked about expert witnessing when we an expert witness when we talked about opinion evidence. Expert witness is an exception to opinion evidence, which is generally inadmissible. So those are the types of evidence that we have. Now, when tendering this evidence, there are so many rules that govern the tendering of evidence. You should pay attention to the Evidence Act 2011 and read it alongside the amendment, the 2023 amendment, for a better understanding. We've even done a video on Section 84, which talks about electronically generated evidence. Very important. Read all these things together and you get a better understanding of what evidence really is or looks like, or how to tender it in Nigeria. We've also done, if I'm counting it, I would count at least 10 videos on this channel that has to do with evidence. If you check the playlist called Trial on the channel especially, or just look for the one that is called a Bar Talk. We have all those things. But if you check Trial, it should be more specific to aspects of trial that we've talked about. You would find nothing less than 10 videos on tendering of documents or evidence on the channel. Please watch those things. Now, when you're tendering evidence, whether you're tendering real, documentary, or testimonial evidence, it is important to lay foundation. So this is about this live is about laying foundations, like I said. So it's important for you to thank you to everyone that's joining. Thank you very much. You can leave comments in the comment section. Thank you very much. So that's the only way I can see that you have joined if you leave a comment. But I like see you in particular, I'm getting notifications when you join or when you leave. But if you want me to know this is me in particular, this is what I have to contribute to the conversation, you can leave it in the comment section. So, what does it mean to lay foundation? As the name or as the term may imply, look at when you want to build a property, a house for instance. You first lay the foundation. That means you are putting structures in place to ensure that whatever you put on it stands. In the most famed and most cited, quoted words of Lord Denning, you cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand. That means that you must first, in all instances, deal with the foundation. The foundation. Even the Bible says, if the foundation is destroyed, what can the righteous do? So the foundation must be solid. So when we say you're laying foundation in trial, during evidence giving, what it means is that you're setting the tone. You're providing context for the evidence that you want to give. So if, for instance, I want to tender the evidence of maybe receipt, maybe it's a matrimonial cause, for instance, a divorce, in local in colloquial parlance, and I want to prove that I've been paying the school fees of the child of the marriage by tendering school receipts, that I have obtained from time to time as I've paid. They've given me receipt. If I want to tender the receipt, I can't just come and tender it. By the time I am filing my processes, that's where foundation laying starts. It starts from pleading the documents. Pleading means, in your witness statement on oath, making mention of it or describing the circumstances surrounding it or why it is relevant. So if I have said in my pleadings, for instance, that I have been the one paying and I will prove this at trial, I've laid foundation. So by the time we come to trial and I want to tender the receipt, then my lawyer will lead me in evidence to say that I've been the one paying the school fees, and each time I pay, they give me this receipt. Then the lawyer, do you have this receipt with you? Yes. Or can you identify this document? Yes, it is the school receipt that they give to me each time I pay. And then my lawyer will tender it through me. So we have laid the foundation. So you can't just come to court with a school receipt and say, my lord, want to tender it. No, you must show that, okay, I've been the one paying the school fees. That's the fact in issue. To prove that fact now, I am bringing this receipt that is often issued to me by the school. Now, if I'm now tendering a photocopy of that receipt, I need to lay further foundation to say that I do not have the original because I always give it to so and so person, or maybe we submit it in so and so place, but I have this photocopy. I always scan it and I printed the scanned copy. There are so many other things to do to lay foundation, but that's just an example of what it means to lay foundation. You provide context for the evidence that you're bringing. If the prosecution wants to tender a gun, for instance, maybe an AK-47 was recovered at the scene of a crime or in the process of investigating a crime, they must lay foundation as to how they came about it, what happened. Is there anything in the case, in the story, the general story, that shows that this is the gun that was used to kill the person that died or to perpetrate the robbery, if it's a robbery and not murder, for instance? And how was it recovered? When it was recovered, who was it given to? You trace the chain of custody. The chain of custody until it now came before the court. Okay, we had gunshots. Somebody died. The police were called. When they got there, nobody was found. The robbers or the murderer the suspect had fled, not fled, please. The suspect had fled. After fleeing, when we got there, we discovered this gun, maybe at the back of the building or under the staircase. We discovered the gun, and then we took it into evidence. It was examined by our gun specialist, now whatever they call them, who concluded that maybe a bullet was even recovered. Then maybe you've matched the bullet to the gun, and then it was handed over to the evidence keeper, and then brought to court. We made a request when we're coming to court today, and then it was brought to court. That is all part of evidence laying. Very important. But the most common, usually in Nigeria, in most cases now, real evidence is also common, but in most cases we have documentary evidence and testimonial evidence, that is bringing of witnesses to court and tendering documents in court. So how do you lay foundation for things like that? If you check section 84, for instance, and the recent 2023 amendment, it shows you how to lay foundation, for documentary evidence, electronically generated evidence. That's evidence that you print from a computer or from any other electronic source. You have to file certificate of compliance, or you lay foundation, proper foundation. You do both. Now, in a certificate of compliance, you would observe that it contains you saying things like, oh, this thing was printed with so computer, HP X21 laptop was printed with it, was printed in the ordinary course of business. It was printed with a computer that is normally used to print these kind of documents, and it was working in good condition. All those things, that is what is called laying foundation. If you have not filed a certificate of compliance, for instance, you can still lay foundation. You lead your witness to describe the process of obtaining the evidence up until the time it appeared before the court. For instance, I was leading a witness recently in a matter, and I led him to tell the court that this particular document, we got it from the defendant's organization. They sent it to him by email, and then he printed it out of his laptop. That is laying of foundation, so that the document will not stand aloof. Also, because public documents are supposed to be tendered in their certified forms or in their original forms. Private documents are also supposed to be tendered either in their original forms or in their for public documents you tender the certified true copy, because in most cases you will not be able to get the original. For instance, when you want to tender, but if you have the original, you tender it. So either original or certified true copy. For instance, if you wanted to tender a gazette, you cannot bring the gazette to court because it is government property. But what you can do is that you can go to a public library and get a certified true copy, or you go to a ministry. Maybe it's about a piece of land. You can go to the Ministry of Lands, get a certified true copy and tender it. Let's say it's a marriage certificate, for instance. You can tender the one that was given to you, or if you don't have it, maybe the other party has it, then you can go to the marriage registry and get a certified true copy and tender it. But we've done all that in the video that we did on tendering of documentary evidence. But how do you lay foundation? Say you have brought a certified true copy of a public document now, a marriage certificate, which you should have original. You have an original with you that was given to you because it's signed in triplicates. So you lead your witness if you're a lawyer, and if you are a layman, the one involved, the lawyer will lead you to say the following. Okay, my lord, the original of this, okay, you say, where's the original of this document? It's with my wife, or it's with my husband, and he has refused to release it, or it got lost, or something happened to it. It got burnt where we were living before. Whatever has happened to it, you tell the court. Then you say, this is a certified true copy. You have laid foundation. You cannot just come to court and put the certified true copy before the court simply because you can't get the original. Laying foundation means you let the court know that there's an original indeed, which I know I'm supposed to tender, but something happened to it, and this is what happened. And so this is the one I've brought before the court, and I have complied with the certification required of me. You can say that. Very, very, very simple. That is how to lay foundation. That is one aspect of laying foundation. Remember the first aspect that we talked about, where you are linking it to the case, the facts in issue. Because it's a marriage now that is in contention. That is why a certificate is being tendered. Especially if maybe the other party is even contending the validity of the marriage or saying that there's no marriage. Even more so. So now you would have laid a little foundation in your pleadings to say that I and this person got married on so date. We got married in this registry. We were given a certificate in the presence of witnesses. That is one aspect of laying foundation. The other aspect is, oh, the certificate got burnt, and so now here with the certified true copy. So you continue to lay foundation until the court admits the document in evidence. You don't stop. So I hope that you understand. Laying foundation means providing context for the court to admit your document in evidence. It is very important. Now, what if it's a witness, a testamentary or a testimonial evidence? Say it's a witness, maybe an eyewitness now. It could be an eyewitness, an expert witness. If it's an eyewitness, how do you lay foundation? You lay foundation by telling the court or leading them in evidence to say that, one, they were at the scene of, maybe it's a crime, they were at the scene, or maybe it's you're trying to prove that somebody threatened somebody and then what they threatened to do then happened. You bring them and say, okay, witness, tell this honorable court your name, what you do for a living, where you live. Do you recall the 13th day of May 2020? What happened on that day? Where were you on that day? Around 4 p.m., for instance, you can go that way and they say, oh, I was here. What were you doing? Oh, I was in this room. We're rounding up our rehearsals, and then the choir director and this other person had an altercation, and the choir director, okay, then you say, okay, what then happened? So, and then you continue to lead them in evidence. So by asking those initial questions of, do you recall so date? What happened on that day? Where were you at 4 p.m.? Then what happened? You have laid foundation to connect them to the incidents. Because what you want to bring them to prove in this scenario is that the choir director made threats, and these threats eventually happened. They said, oh, I will kill you, or I will deal with you. And then maybe the person died or had an injury. And maybe the person is now claiming that it's the choir director that did it. So what you have come to do is to lend credence to the fact that a threat was made. The existence of that threat, the fact that it happened, is the fact in issue. So the way you are connected to it is that you are an eyewitness. You saw and you heard when it happened. So laying foundation is asking you, is tracing you to the scene of that threat, and then making you say, before making you say what you heard and what happened. So connecting you to the scene of the threat is what laying foundation means. So that we know that you are not just someone that woke up and decided to say so and so. You could even lay foundation as to why you would be there, by asking, okay, what are you? What role do you play in that church? I praise the Lord. Thank you for joining. What role do you play in that church? I say, oh, I'm a choir. I'm a member of the choir. Good afternoon. I'm a member of the choir. Thank you for joining. So when you say I'm a member of the choir, now we are connecting you. That's laying foundation. Okay, when do you normally hold your choir practice? We hold it so and so. Then what happened on this day at 4 p.m.? So you can go that direction to say that we hold our choir practice. What happens? When do you normally hold your choir practice? We hold it. But if you go that long route, the other council might raise an objection for relevance. So it's better to shorten the journey to relevance. So by asking the first one, but you can also go, hello, Divine, Chukudi, thank you for joining. You can also shorten the journey by just going straight. Do you recall so date? Where were you at 4 p.m.? But if you want to lay even stronger foundation, you can start by asking, okay, tell us your name, what you do for a living, where you live. Are you a member of so church? What role do you play in that church? okay, I'm a member of the choir. When do you hold your choir practice? We hold it for between 3 and 4 p.m. Every Saturday. Then what happened on Saturday, the 14th, at around 4 p.m. Then you have laid foundation. You have linked that person to the point where they can now confidently and logically, logic very important, how it connects, how they can you have linked them to the point where they can logically comment on what happened and how the threat was made. What you need them to come and do is to say that they are a witness to the threat. Yes, but now you need to first connect them to the scene of the threat before they can now talk about the threat, so that the other party would not oppose or uh, object that they are just a meddlesome interloper. Very important. That is for eyewitness. What if it's an expert witness? When you bring an expert witness to court, you need to lay foundation to show their expertise and their experience. Remember that when we talked about opinion evidence and we talked about expert witnesses, we talked about the fact that their expertise need not be a matter of qualifications alone. It can also come by way of length of practice or length of exposure to something. For instance, we talked about a secretary who would be an expert in determining the handwriting of a boss because of the length of time within which they have worked together. A doctor can be an expert witness in a rape case, for instance. Normally, when we're prosecuting rape cases or even when you're defending rape cases, because I've been on both sides, I've been a prosecutor and a defense counsel, and usually for the defense, I think it was the preliminaries that we did before the matter even went to court. So I took the child in question, the nominal complainant, to court. Took her to court for, I'm looking for, okay, took her to court for HIV tests, because she had to be tested twice and then she had to get a test to confirm whether she's positive or negative. So we did that. So now we can call, apart from that, they would also normally test a rape victim for the presence of semen, which is usually done to confirm if there was penetration. So the doctor can be called as an expert witness. When you start, you lay foundation by asking questions for the doctor to prove that he's a doctor. This has been his length of practice, and he would normally, be able to answer questions in this line because of A, B, C, D. You need to ask those questions first before you now go to, okay, you tested this person, what did you find, or this is the result of the test that you gave to the nominal complainant. Can you tell us what it means? Can you tell us your findings? You first need to lay foundation. So that is how to lay foundation. Laying foundation is very important, because your evidence can be a lost cause if it is not done or if it is not done properly. Foundation must always be laid so that you can place a very solid building, so to speak, on it. So if you bring the secretary, for instance, what questions would you ask to lay foundation? Tell us your name, what you do for a living. If they say that, oh, I work as a secretary in a so organization, are you attached to this person, or are you a general secretary? You can ask any question in that line. Okay, I'm attached to Mr. A. How long have you worked with him? I've worked with him for 18 years as his secretary. 18 years, yes, I've worked with. And then what would normally be your scope of duty? What do you do on a day-to-day? I take notes for him. I interpret his notes. I type up his minutes. I do this, I do that. Questions to help to elicit answers from the witness that would show that they're in the best position to lend credence to what you have brought them to court to lend credence to. That is what it means to lay a foundation. Then you can now present the signature in dispute to them to start questioning them on that. Very important. Very important. I gave example of the case that I was doing where I laid foundation. and through my witness to say that this letter was sent by email to, I asked the witness, I said, witness, I noticed that all the documents you have tendered are um, they are printed copies. Why is that? Where are the originals? Then he said that. Now note that these are things you would have coached your witness about, prepared rather your witness to say, if I ask this question, you say this is why you're saying this. We're not lying to the court, but we're preparing so that we do not misspeak, we do not underspeak, and we do not overspeak. Very important. So I then asked him, where are the originals? Then he said, oh, for this one, it was sent to me by email, so I printed it out. This one was printed from a news publication online. This one was printed from this government agency's website because I submitted my complaint to them electronically, and so on and so forth. And then when the other party then objected to say that one was supposed to have been certified, it was even the court that came to my rescue to say that certified how, by whom. They have said that they printed it from an online website, and uh, the company in question is completely remote. The court then asked, have you seen a physical copy, a real copy of this printout anywhere in Nigeria? They said no. Then this company is completely virtual. There's no way they could have certified it. So because of the foundation, the documents scaled into evidence. It was admitted. So if we had not laid foundation, it would have been easy for the other party to object and get away with the objection. So laying foundation, very important. And for electronically generated evidence, just file your certificate of compliance. Or if you're not filing, if it's a court that would allow not filing, make sure you lay tight foundation. I hope that what it means to lay foundation is now clear. Thank you to everyone that joined and everyone that's going to watch much later. I think this is a good place for us to say goodbye, and I will see you in my very next episode. Don't forget to subscribe. Toodles.